Before I kick off this week's episode, I just want to ask or, implore the audience whether or not they would feel comfortable sharing with me potential questions or concerns that they would like to have raised in these videos or in these blog posts. Because I feel for a long time I've been doing these just kind of off what I feel is best, but then, it's always good to have that feedback and also that interaction with the audience to answer the questions you want answered as well in a manner that takes either one of these videos or one of the blog posts. I'm happy to do either. And the thing is, you don't have to give your name or anything, and I won't drop anyone's name in the video. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, so I'm okay with doing that. And yeah, I kind of just want to build that up as a way of to also make my life a little bit easier when it comes up to making this content, but also be able to target it to things you are interested in. So if you want to either send me a message, if you look up on my website or my blog, there'll be a way for you to kind of get in touch and contact. There's a contact page that you can send emails to, and I'll then go from there and go about making videos or content based off that. So if you're interested, like I said, go to my website, my blog. The links will be in the description, and find the contact page and just send me an email. Now, time to get into today's video, which is going to be about service in the workplace, or a way to look at your work in a way that can, I think in many respects, not only improve your effectiveness, but also improve your employability, which is service. So it's more of a kind of mindset than, it's a mindset and an attitude that really kind of helps to shift people's perceptions about what you are kind of here for, or what you're there for. And it's something that your manager, or if someone you're working under, it's good for them to get and gauge this feeling. Now, I do acknowledge that this isn't always possible in the case of, especially if you have a very tyrannical kind of manager, then it's not as easy to kind of go about this because, well, the person's probably not making your life easy, so, I can understand that. But to use a recent example from my own experience, my employment is a 3-year kind of job where every 6 months I get rotated to a different part of health, and it's got its difficulties and challenges because, you come to a new team or a new placement and you spend 6 months there, and it feels as if, you're just starting to get your understanding of how everything works at the end of the 6 months, and then you're moved on to the next one. But, that's just the way it is, and that's just the way the program's set up, but, it is what it is. However, what I've kind of done throughout I'm up to my 4th placement now. I've just started it just the other week. So I'm about halfway through the program. What I've kind of done throughout is take the perspective and also try to explain this to my managers, even if it's just directly, explicitly stating it, that my goal is to be of greatest service to them as possible. Because the reason why is a lot of managers, especially in offices and stuff like that, it can be a struggle. They've got their own issues and known problems, and their own deadlines that they got to deal with. And the best way you can kind of create a really positive environment and working relationship with your managers is through kind of this whole idea of what you're doing is trying to be of greatest service to them. Now, it's not something that can always be explicitly, for every single situation kind of be covered. So it's that's why I say it's more of an attitude or a mindset than anything else. Because obviously with the very different types of work we all do, it very much changes. But for me, in my personal situation that's recently happened, is what I wanted to be of service was there was this big long 20-year program that was going on at one of these placements that I was working at, and a thing that I realized throughout working there throughout the 6 months was I realized that the documentation side of things and essentially logging everything that had happened throughout the 20-year program, but also the 5 years that the kind of analysis of the program had kind of really kind of kicked into high gear, hadn't been very well documented, and the documentation that was there was kind of scattered all over the place. It wasn't kind of centralized in one location. So a lot of what was difficult for me when I started was trying to get information as to, what had happened in the past, where could I find things, where were things located, what was important, what was not. And what I realized would be the greatest service to the team, throughout my placement was, obviously doing my component of the analysis, which I was doing, but was also to create a amalgamated kind of consolidated log of all the activity that had happened throughout the past. So, I'd found where previous workers had, located, placed their components of their own individual analyses and, where they documented what they did. And then through, amalgamating it all, kind of created one document which had all, pretty much almost a sequential timeline of events that kind of, explained each and every process and what happened and what were the considerations that were made at the time. Because, there's all sorts of different, how do you say it, captain's calls when it comes to making decisions on how we went about doing something for, certain reasons. And it's about trying to explain that in the best way possible so that for in the future, if someone is to come in, instead of being in my position where they had to go searching around looking for stuff and, not knowing exactly where, and it kind of became a process of just, figuring out where the most important stuff was just through trial and error and just, looking through things and just eventually finding, oh yeah, that's the thing I need or whatever. Instead of having to go through that, in the future, someone will be able to, through my amalgamated log, be able to just kind of immediately go to that file to what I've created and, see the history that's kind of occurred, and then from that point on add on to it from, with their own work. So that was kind of like a really major service thing for that team, because it was something they were severely lacking in that department, was that kind of very comprehensive but also comprehensive but also well documented history of not just my work but of everyone's work, which to them, coming to the end of my placement with them, they were so happy and thrilled that I'd done that, and they were over the moon about it, because I'd solved a problem through kind of looking at through that mindset of service. By being of the greatest service to them, I actually managed to solve one of their kind of biggest problems and concerns, because the manager was a little bit unsure, because this has been going on for a really, the analysis of this program has been going on for a really long time, and they were a little bit, uneasy, because they just had this feeling that we didn't, although all this stuff had been done over the years by different people, he felt like there was just a disconnect, because it just felt like everything was done in these own little siloed things, and because without bringing them together, we kind of didn't have the full picture. But now with what I've done, there's kind of now a full, or well, as full as you're going to get, picture of what's happened and where things are. And that's kind of just, like I said, solved one of their biggest problems and one of their biggest concerns, and one of their issues with the overall program. And this has kind of put them in a good foot, where even though they're not going to unfortunately get someone because like I said, it's a rotational program, they're not getting someone to come for this rotation, but in 6 months' time, when there's a new round of rotations, when they will get someone, that person will be able to go straight from there and then be able to work on everything, or take off where I left off and kind of, go from there. And that, like I said, is just such a great way, just a great example of trying to find the greatest way that you can be of service to your manager. And like I said, sometimes you might have to ask them directly to figure out, where they'll tell you straight away, you'll ask, how could you do that? And then they'll tell you. Sometimes it's not as obvious, sometimes it takes time, and just you kind of picking up from different conversations with people, whether it be, colleagues or through your manager, you kind of pick up on little bits of information that you can kind of piece together and go, oh, okay, I think this is one of their major pain points or one of their biggest problems. Let's see what I can do to maybe not fully fix the problem, but at least somewhat provide a remedy or start the process and the step by step of trying to fix it. And that's going to always, I think in many respects, give you a lot of recognition and acknowledgement from that. Don't always expect it straight away, but like I think when you actually deliver something that's tangible and is clearly demonstrates that it solves the problem, not only your team but your manager will be very thankful for that. And the team that I was working with is incredibly thankful for that, what I've done, because it's really set some things straight that they were like kind of concerned about. And yeah, so I guess that is what I wanted to talk about today. And I guess as an exercise, it's something you could think about in your own workplace, like what is something that you can be of greatest service to. Now, it's not always going to be like mission critical things, like like these life or death things for the business or for the organization, but there might just be things that they are. It could be something like where it would be great if someone could fix it, but it's not a immediate time frame priority where it's like it doesn't have to get done by next week or anything. But God, it would be good if someone could figure out a way to do X, Y, Z. And then if you can kind of come in and then be that person that figures out what that X, Y, Z is, and then start working towards a way of fixing it, then like I said, you are going to do incredibly well, because once you've kind of got that mindset and that ability, and you've kind of trained that up multiple times, and you've done it, and you constantly kind of go through that framework, you will become indispensable, because no matter where you go or no matter what you do, you seem to be to your managers and to your colleagues will always seem that you're someone who can fix problems. You're someone who can diagnose things and then come up with a solution with something in a way that's actually going to deliver the best result, or like it's going to be one of the more appreciated results, because anyone can do the BAU work or the general work, but if you can do something that really fixes a long time issue or an underlying issue for the team or for the management, then you can hope to see promotions, and and if even not promotions, you'll be far much more recession proof when it comes to losing your job, because the people that are normally the first to go when there's economic downturns overall or whatever are the people that usually just do the bare minimum or just like the general work. But the people that are those indispensable few are the ones, the very last people that are ever going to go, because the management or the team just can't do without them. Like, for whatever reason they, or whatever offering they have to the table, it's just something that you can't do without, or you'd be at such detriment to the team or the management if you did. So those people just end up staying, around longer through the hard times as well. The hard times and the good times. So yeah, I guess, have a think about that in your own employment, in your own sphere, and see if there is some way that you can be of greater service to your team or to your management. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something like directly associated with work. It could be that maybe your team is having issues with coming together as a team and working in a really positive manner. So what you could maybe do is find a way for team building exercises, either during work, and you probably have to talk to your manager with that, or an after work social event where you guys can kind of find ways to connect your team together to make you better performers. Who knows? That's one theoretical example, or a potential example that comes to mind off the top of my head, that isn't necessarily related to doing a task or doing a job per se, but it's one of those additional things that could be one of those things that the team's lacking that you could kind of help organize and fix. So yeah, that's it for this week. I'll see you next week, and like and subscribe.